Man, Houston is just tough. They're tough and they play together and they're down what was it 14 with 10 minutes left and they've got nothing going and they just kept playing. I mean,
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams. And on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, we wrap up the exclusive men's Final Four NCAA tournament stuff. Of course, we tape Sunday, so we will not talk about the championship game, but we will talk about the best and worst of the Final Four in segment one. Segment two, we will spend time talking about roster building, and segment three, give you some sights and sounds from San Antonio, Texas, where we're taping from. With me today, Captain for Life, Will Cotton, who came up quite often this weekend in San Antonio. Will, what's the best thing you saw this weekend with the Final Four?
Man, it's probably all the college fans who are going around saying that college is better than the NBA. Because all I got to say is, man, this has been an amazing, amazing tournament. I really enjoyed it. The quality of basketball has been great, and it's been lacking. That's been lacking for me personally the last, I guess, 10 years or so. It's just been a great, great vibe. And I know NIL, has a hand in that. But if we're gonna have a continued tournaments like that where guys are aggressive and a little bit more mature basketball and really good defense, things like that, and physical games, I'm all with it, man. I'm loving it. So let's keep rocking.
All right. Also with us today, our favorite administrator, Robert Abney. Robert, what was the best thing you saw this weekend with the Final Four, sir? And glad to have you on.
yeah. Man, Houston is just tough. They're tough and they play together and they're down what was it 14 with 10 minutes left and they've got nothing going and they just kept playing. I mean, I mean, that's the best thing I saw. And I mean, it was really strange to me how, Duke was just rolling along and I don't know if Houston found it. I mean, one thing we've talked about with Duke all year is the ACC is bad and they weren't pushed. So when the screws tightened up a little bit, that was an unfamiliar situation for them. And I mean, kudos to Houston. That was impressive.
Yeah. So for me, fans, the best thing I saw this weekend was just that, the fans. Robert and I got a chance to just walk the Riverwalk, hang out at the Fan Fest with everybody with their gear on, and everybody was kind of locked into basketball. When you have the top four seeds, you also have four great fan bases. And that was so cool to see fan bases respectfully going at each other. And now Robert and I did not stay out for the Duke Houston game. Might have been a little different. But for the most part, I really just enjoyed the interaction. People were chatty. They wanted to talk. They wanted to share their ideas and thoughts. And so that was really cool. Cotton Man, what's the worst thing you saw this weekend?
Probably just time to score at the end of the game for Duke. That's, I mean, there were so many good things about the tournament, man. Like there were not a lot of many bad things, but the worst was definitely time to score. And I mean, Coach, you've been preaching about it since October. Time and score, time and score, time. I mean, you've been hearing that for the last 20 years. So that is true as it forever has been, man. So that's probably the worst thing I said.
Robert, what about you? What's the worst thing you saw this tournament? As
Well,
as he heard the rant about
and again, we talk all the time about Bruce Pearl in a close game does not bode well for Auburn, and it was borne out again. I mean, the game got tight, and they really didn't execute. They really didn't adjust. They really didn't do anything different, and they needed something, something. And he couldn't give it to him. So, they come up short again. I mean, he's going to have a good team again next year because guys will go there in the portal because they're usually pretty good. They get to the Final Four, all that kind of stuff. But end again, yeah, time and score with Auburn. That's not really a concern if you're their opponent. You don't worry about the adjustments they're going to make.
Yeah. The worst thing I saw was that from both ends. I'll talk a little bit about Duke. One of the things, and it's a compliment to Houston, but one of the things that my mentor, Hank Galata, used to talk to us about is refusing to lose on when you're behind. But when you're up, you got to put your foot on somebody's neck and close it out. So I thought John Shire was the best coach coming in. And I thought Cooper Flagg was the best player coming in. And although I picked Houston to make it to the final in my lone bracket, I'm like, man, they're playing too well. They're on a heater, whatever, whatever. But when it came tight, I'm yelling sixes. And Robert's looking at me funny, but Will knows exactly what we're talking about. That's 6 passes before we look for a shot because I'm leading. I'm in control. You're not going to make me force tempo. I'm going to be good. They didn't attack the press. Houston did what it's supposed to do. And the worst thing I saw was Duke couldn't counter. And then I got to hear about a foul. That was a foul. So that was the worst thing that I saw was you couldn't close a game out. And man, you've got to close that game out. Will, what's the most surprising thing you saw?
Oh, I got two things that are pretty interesting. The first thing for me was I was surprised that we all number ones came out of the Final Four. I was pretty surprised about that. I would be interested to see, if you look at all the teams in the tournament, if you look at them, the NIL valuation and how they progress through the tournament, and you would see who spent the most and who basically who benefited from everything. It'd be interesting to see where those 4 number 1 teams rank. But I was very surprised about that. And 2 is Robert is a giant. I had no idea that Robert was 7 feet, 8 feet tall. This guy is a giant. I had no idea. That was more surprising than NIL stuff in the number 1. I saw the picture. I was like, "Oh, the fuck is this big, huge guy that he's with? The giant? The fucking Robert!" I couldn't believe it, man. That was the biggest surprise thing for me. 100%, 100%.
Robert, what was the biggest surprise for you this Final Four weekend?
Oh man, that's funny. I mean, the results of the games really didn't surprise me. I mean, I thought Duke and Florida would win, but I mean, it wasn't a surprise. Houston was certainly capable. I felt like our experience at FanFest was a good time, and I mean, I will say this: it was good to see that people were able to enjoy themselves, everybody wearing their gear and everybody being civil. And yes, it's before the game, and I understand that. But there was some good natured, jibing back, going back and forth, but there was no nastiness, there was no ugliness. Everyone was there to have a good time, enjoy the experience. And I mean, there were people everywhere. We wound up having lunch in at the Esquire Tavern in San Antonio, and there was an Auburn party downstairs, so the place was just packed with Auburn people. Auburn
War Eagle.
Yeah, War Eagle. It was a great time. It was a really good experience.
Yeah. For me, the most surprising thing I saw CKA is doing 3 active research studies, one on student athlete motivation, post NIL, transfer portal, COVID, all of that. We're also doing student athletes' thoughts on collective bargaining and coaching today with all of this going on. And I was really surprised at just the level of angst everybody's having about the impending House decision, because no one's really paid attention So there's so much information that's out there, and some of it is just not the best information. So it's why we want to do the study. And coaches are very honest, coaches are very open. And I'm just surprised at how little they really do know. I'm like, wow, you don't know this? And they're like, I really haven't been like locked into it. So that was really, really surprising to me. So with that, in segment 2, we're going to dive in deep. We're going to talk about roster building, which was another big topic all weekend. We'll be right back on the iCoaches podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and for years, I've witnessed the struggles student athletes face on how to truly balance the demands of academics and athletics. It's a question that I have dedicated my life to answering. That's why I wrote Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. It's more than just a book. It is my personal journey, and it is filled with hard-earned lessons from decades as a coach, educator, and now president of the CKA Safe Project. Inside, you will find practical advice, real-life stories, and a clear roadmap to help student athletes, coaches, and parents navigate the complex world of balancing sports and education. And now I am thrilled to bring this message to a wider audience as a proud member of the Cascade Sports Network. We're partnering to amplify these crucial conversations about student athlete success. I believe every student athlete deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, both on and off the court and the field. You can purchase your copy directly from our website at www.ckasafeproject.org. Join me and the Cascade Sports Network as we work together to help every student athlete succeed. Welcome back to the iCoaches podcast in segment 2. There was a lot of discussion this week with coaches about roster building and the impending House decision. Each of the teams came to the Final Four with a different kind of roster. Duke had freshmen. Houston had grown-ass men who were just gonna rock fight you, to use my boy Robert's term. Auburn kind of transfer portaled it. Didn't have a lot of homegrown stars, but they had their team. And Florida had the youngest coach, and they also did a little mid-major transfers in there. So, Will, what do you think about roster building moving forward? With there's a lot of changes coming. This week should be quite interesting, but you had all ones this year, not a lot of mid-majors, made it through. Colorado State almost did, but it is what it is. What are you thinking about roster building now?
I think, and Rick Pitino had a good podcast where he spoke about this, that college teams are now basically going to become like Euro teams. Like every year you're going to have a different roster. Every day you're going to have a different scheme or things like that. If you're good enough to have an elite player like a Cooper Flaggs, like I want to stay another year just because I want to win. It's going to be a different landscape. I think it also changes things because, and I want to frame this correctly, we don't see too many of these like poverty-stricken kids making it like as being like a genie in the bottle kind of thing. Like usually those kids, they go to prep schools, the mom pulls up in an Escalade, you know what I'm saying? Both parents are in the household. If not, they're still, partnering, things like that. So it's kind of different, especially with NIL and money and the way things are moving. It's roster building is going to be different because if you can entice people to come back and stay for millions of dollars, I mean, shoot, why not? Why not? Especially if you're Cooper Flagg and you're looking at the top 3-5 teams and you're like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm going to go play in Washington. Oh, Utah. They don't have any barbecue. I'm accustomed to that now,
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting. And I think that the coaches that look at it like, hey, every year I'm going to have a different team. I got to get on the hustle. I have to get on the grind because I love the team that I got, but I have a whole new team, will have success for the most part. The ones who kind of anticipate, oh, well, I'm a recruit and I'm going to have this kid for 3 years and I'm going to work on him and develop him. And by the time he's a junior, then you're really going to crack the starting five and the rotation. It's not going to work. Those archaic ideas are going to be gone. So if you believe in the new times and you're going to act and move like that it's a Euro league, you'll have success. If you think antiquatedly and you're still going to go out the good foot and hit the trail and recruit 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and think they're going to be there in 2 years, you're going to have a lot of hard times. And that's really what it is.
All right, Robert, what are you thinking about roster building in this era now? Is this the last year of all ones? I don't know. What are you thinking?
I actually think that as time progresses, I think we will start to see not necessarily more ones, but definitely more schools from the Power Four and maybe even Power Three, Power Two as things progress. I think that and Will talked about this some. I think that the days of recruiting freshmen, aside from those kids who are clearly head and shoulders better than anybody else, the days of recruiting freshmen are done. So freshmen are going to wind up in junior colleges. They're going to wind up in D2s. They're going to wind up in low majors and, wind up working their way up. And all of this, because there's so much uncertainty, causes everybody to be reactionary and not really know. It's difficult to make a plan when you're not quite sure what the rules are even going to be. And I think to me, that's the biggest challenge that people are facing. What are the rules? What's it going to look like? And nobody knows the answer to that. And to be honest, I think that after the House decision comes out this week, I don't think anybody's going to know then either.
No, I like that you mentioned that. I like, Will, that you brought up Rick Pitino's comments about Europe. So for me, roster building is one of the reasons why we are digging deep into the development of the CKA PGA, our post-grad academy, because it's not like it's going to be ever again. The House decision is going to cause more confusion. And this coming week, I'll be at the SAC Symposium sponsored by the Drake Group at Howard University on this coming Thursday, and a lot of these conversations will take place. I sat in a lot of sessions at the Final Four on roster building and the impending House decision, and you have to have certain staff members now. You do need a GM. You do need some people who are going to do some roster management for you. I sat in a session with young coaches talking to search firms, and what search firms were telling them is, yeah, it's nice that you can draw up a backdoor cut, whatever, but there's so much more to this, and you've got to have experience in places that you didn't have. So, that generic major you had just to get a degree, you got to get some higher level skills. So it's going to be interesting in terms of how teams build their roster. And, I'm nervous about the word contract. I'm nervous about a lot of terminology that's coming in, which is why we're looking at their thoughts on collective bargaining. Because if you ask one set of people, yeah, we want it, ask another set of people, no, stay away from it. So, there's a lot of uncertainty with that, but I'm glad we had the conversation. And in segment 3, we're going to talk more about the love of money and how these power 2, 3, 4s are going to deal in this new changing time. We'll be right back on the Yacht Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years,
I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CKA Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. For the love of money, the SEC, which will play 35 NCAA men's tournament games, they're going to earn 35 units, and each unit is crazy money. So the SEC is going to get like 70 million. Okay. The Big 12 is going to get like 40 million. The Big 10 is going to get 42 million. The ACC and the Big East, they're going to get about 18 million. The Mountain West is going to get 12 million. The West Coast Conference is going to get 8 million. And everybody else will get about 4 million apiece, while 20 conferences will earn 1 unit. Guys, the SEC has invested in men's basketball. They've invested in women's basketball. Can anybody catch up? What are you thinking?
Yes. The best chance is to join the club. I mean, if I'm the ACC, I mean, I'd be looking. I'm like, shoot, I got Clemson, I got Miami, I got Virginia Tech. I got North. I got every now and again Louisville. Whatever. Hey, man. Let me absorb into the SEC. I got Florida State and get some of that money, because ACC ain't gonna get it, and all they're gonna do is be stuck in these contracts. And then and also you have the Big East. It's like, hey, like St. John's is like, hey, you guys can use another basketball team in your conference. You guys could use another ranked team in the conference, a big name. That's the name of the game. I think these conferences now are looking at themselves and they're like, man, like, what are we going to do? The best chance is to absorb themselves or somehow find a secret sauce that some of them make them better than the SEC, and that's not going to happen, But it's like, hey, SEC's like, hey, I made $70 million. Okay, well, if the Big 12 made $40 million, hey, why don't I just bring you guys in? We do a super conference. We make $110 million and do our thing, just for basketball. We'll see what happens. But if I'm a conference outside of the SEC, it's going to be hard for me to look at them and be like, man, like, how do I compete? And for some, like, I forgot the team that already went D3.
St. Francis.
St. Francis, yeah. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of teams like that. That you're like, really? Like, you just can't compete? Like, yeah, I don't have any money. I have no donors. I have no recruits. I have no sexy locations. Like, what do you want me to do? And it's going to be unfortunate.
Robert, you're not only a principal, you're a former athletic director. The number sheet just came to your desk, and you're an ACC. You're a Big East. You're a Mountain West who plays good ball. What do you think? What are you thinking right now?
How do we get more teams in the tournament? I mean, what can we do to help our conference? And it was not so long ago, and yes, NIL changed all this, but it was not so long ago. The SEC was terrible, terrible. They had Kentucky and a lot of poop. They were bad. But Greg Sankey told their schools, you will make a commitment to getting better. You're going to spend money on facilities. You're going to spend money on your programs, because it is our expectation as members of the SEC that everybody meet a certain standard. And people have done that. People have done that. Now, I will say this. How many more units could you possibly earn? Right? It seems to me like that you got 35, they played 35 games. There aren't that many more games that they could play in before it's just logistically impossible for it to happen. So, could they earn more next year? Yeah. I don't know how many more. So I think that's the flip side of that. The Big Ten and the Big 12 didn't do poorly. The ACC is not going to stay as bad as they are. The Big East, I think, is St. John's getting upset. I think that there's some opportunity there for them, but all of that bodes really poorly, truthfully, for Mountain West on down.
Mm-hmm.
That's who that bodes poorly for, because as those schools spend more money on their programs and continue to get better, who are they going to take bids from? They're going to take bids from just, some of these smaller leagues that manage to get multiple bids. And I see a point in the future where pretty much if you're outside the Power Four in the Big East, you're not getting multiple. Your conference is not getting multiple bids.
Yeah. So let me stay with you, Robert. The Big Ten hadn't won a title in a minute, so they have resources. They've got money. They've got opportunities, but they ain't held up the natty. So what are you thinking about if you're the Big Ten? You talk about buried success. You just had Kevin Willard just pee all over your conference saying, I got to get out of this thing because these guys ain't going to do what's needed to be done. How are you feeling if you're Big Ten management?
Well, let's think about it this way, okay? One of his primary complaints was the travel, right? So the Big Ten, in an effort to basically match what the SEC is doing, the SEC's footprint is much smaller than the Big Ten, right? And, you're talking about a bunch of nonsense, and we've talked about this. We have beaten that dead horse, on multiple occasions. USC Maryland conference game on a Sunday night. What are we doing? And that's really the issue. In an effort to keep up with the Joneses, they've kind of taken the Pac-12, what was the Pac-12, and added them to the Big Ten. And A, the teams aren't of that quality, and B, the travel is insane. And so what are you going to do about that? It's really easy. Is it Tony Petitti?
Petitti, yeah.
Petitti? It's real easy for him to say, hey, you're going to be in the Big Ten. This is what we're going to do. Facilities, money, like Greg Sankey did. But they have some logistical challenges that the SEC does not have to deal with. And I think that the SEC was probably, working from a stronger foundation to start with.
Yeah, Cotton Man, Big Ten's not winning titles. They're winning games, but they're not winning titles. What are you thinking about with the Big Ten?
Man, if I could have the answer, I'd let them hire me and they could pay me hundreds of millions of dollars to figure out why they're not. They have the same opportunity to draft. They got the same, not draft, but recruit. The facilities are right there, unless, the one thing that you're getting is much better, more weather. And for the most part, the SEC, the best that we talk about is it's 70 degrees until November. Some of those kids are like, I'm not playing in, Ohio and it's 30 degrees. I'm not playing in, Penn State and it's 25 degrees up in the mountains of
I'm
Pennsylvania.
not going to Nebraska where the wind blows sideways in January and it's minus 20.
Forget the grit. Yeah,
Well,
forget the grit, dude. I'm not playing there. It's just not. I'm not going to. I've been to Michigan, and for the Michigan Ohio State game, it's cold for no reason. It's cold, it's just cold. It's just like deep down in your bones, cold. It's not like winding cold. It's like that you can feel it deep inside. Like even my stomach inside is cold, kind of thing. I just don't think they have a landscape that's going to attract a lot of athletes. That hey, now they're going to be millionaires. I'm just going to be out here, on the beach. It's more attractive. I mean, would I rather be in Georgia or Ohio State? If you're one of those kids, you have those options. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
you
do have to congratulate a Big Ten team that won a championship. The Nebraska Cornhuskers has won the inaugural college basketball crown. So although they were 12th place in the Big Ten, they're number one at the end of the season, and they can hoist whatever trophy the college basketball crown is. So congratulations to the Cornhuskers. And as we wrap up, I want to thank our cavalcade of stars for being here. Robert, thank you for the hospitality. Great time had at the Final Four, and we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care. And again, shout out to our friends at the Cascade Sports Network.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.